Hello, it's the Way Show. My name is Wole, and thank you for joining us. It's another Sunday, and apologies for coming to you 5 minutes late. Yes, 5 minutes late. So apologies for that. And please, like I always say on this show, if this is the first time you're watching the show, please do subscribe to it. Okay, and obviously tell someone about the Way Show. All right, and obviously look at our past editions because we've got some very exciting people that we've had on this show. Just like we do have someone very exciting today, we obviously will be talking quite a lot about different stuff today. You know, we're going to be talking about charity, we're going to be talking about culture, we're going to be talking about women empowerment, obviously, quite a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about today. And today I have got with me joining on this show, just like I said, a very interesting personality who is a business analyst. She's a CEO. She's a creative director. She's a FIFA intermediary. She's a superman. Sorry, superwoman. Apologies for that. She's a superwoman because she's got quite a lot on her plate that she is doing. Her name, Naki Kaddu. Sorry, Naki Kaddu. Apologies for that, Naki. So it's Naki Kaddu. Naki's joining us today all the way in the UK. Naki, oh, thanks for that smile. I know
Evening.
for calling you Nikki, it's Naki.
Sorry.
How are you today, Naki?
I'm good. I feel like I should have a cape on with that introduction.
You should, you know. You should. You should.
No pressure there. Thanks,
no
Wally.
pressure at all. All right. Thanks for joining us, Naki. No problem. So let's just go straight into it. For people watching today, joining us for the first time, obviously looking at this lady in our beautiful background there, with our lovely smile. Who is Naki? I mean, who is she? Why have I described her as a superwoman? And why is she a CEO, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, a business analyst, and etc.
Lots of whys.
Yeah.
Hi. So Naki Kaddu, trained as a business analyst. So that's my professional title. Change analyst, business analyst, have been for a number of years now. And through my adult years, discovered I had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I've created a jewelry brand about 8 years ago, rebranded it in 2015, Naki Barango London. Naki Barango is actually my full name, you can appreciate. So yeah. It's I'm Ugandan Irish, born in Uganda to a Ugandan father and Irish mother. So that's home, really. That's where my heart is, my roots. I go back as often as I can, and where my philanthropy has taken me, actually. So, which also had me become a FIFA certified intermediary, which is, as a business analyst, you know, when you're ever working within any industry that you work in, your role and your skill set has you analyze and understand and train what your client's industry is about. So it's a natural characteristic of mine to always inquire and do my research as to if I'm going to commit to any projects or businesses or any clients I work with. I'll do some research and background understanding or training in that industry. And of course, with my philanthropy in Uganda, which is the organization we'll talk about, I'm sure, at length today, called DIDA Sports Organization, that initially had me inquire, okay, what does football as a business, you know, really require? If you're going to set up a philanthropy project, what do I need to do? What would I need to establish and set up? And part of that was the regulations within football, futsal, and FIFA. And I did an 8-week course in 2018, which is when the seed for DIDA really was planted. And at the back of that, I sat a 3-hour FIFA exam and am FIFA certified. So I'm registered with the Football Association in the UK. But really that was also to understand working with minors, because the organization we set up is grassroots development. And so our age catchment is from 5 years up to 16 years. And so it's really important to understand what that means within football, within education, because they are minors, and there's certain regulations that you should work to. So the CEO is the CEO of DIDA, sports organization, and that is based in Uganda. We're in our 3rd year now, 3 years in. We are a progressive nonprofit. We're actually set up as a KIC, which is a community interest company. So we're not registered charity, but we're a community interest. So we exist because we serve a community. Our community is in eastern Uganda, in a place called Dhaka. So we have a large community of about 250 children that we've been working with 5 schools. And our core disciplines, sporting disciplines, are chess, boxing, and football, which is what we want to establish as an organization, not an academy. So that specific, we're not set up as a football academy at this yet, but we definitely want to use sport as an educational tool for this catchment of children's. And obviously with that develops the community, developing sustainable development, giving them access to vocational skills, encouraging education, but using sport as the catalyst that kind of brings that all together. And that's what, so it keeps me busy. So I have a few hats that I wear depending on what I'm doing.
And when well, obviously we're going to talk quite a lot about DIDA today. That's develop, inspire, discipline, and achieve. That's the meaning of DIDA, an initiative whose goal is to obviously develop Uganda and the East African region and Africa, obviously spread into the rest of Africa. And when I think about Uganda, usually and a few things come to my mind. Obviously, and I think I speak for quite a few number of people there. Outside there, it's from President Idi Amin and President Yoweri Museveni, Bobby Wine, and exactly, and obviously the Queen of Katwe. All right, exactly. So that's a very refreshing a look at Uganda and obviously what it represents. I mean, taking someone who no one ever thought would be where she is at the moment, you know, from the slums of Atlanta, right to where she is at the moment. And I look back at what you are trying to do within your region, within the entire Ugandan country, and then think, why have you decided to want to go back home? When I say home, now I'm talking about Uganda. And just like you said, that's where your heart is. To contribute your own quota, especially at bringing people who are not as advantaged as you are, you know, to bring them to that level where we probably will be looking at another film, probably the Queen of, you know, DIDA and what have you, coming up in about 5 or 10 years time.
Yeah. Why? So I never envisaged ever really, it was never in my plan to have something like DIDA, you know, as a responsibility of mine. Yes, as an individual, I give to charity, and there are charities that I specifically choose to support, you know, and I might do that on a monthly basis, or I might do that doing charity runs. It was never in my plan. So I think DIDA found me really, but I'm certainly inspired, and I was inspired in 2018, 2017, when I met some of the Ugandan Cranes on their way to play a Chan tournament. And, you know, we got to talking and some friendships were struck up. And really, for me, it was my claim to fame was just meeting them at the airport. And that was as far as it was going to go for me, and get some selfies. But you know, I was inspired by a group of young men who are doing their best, and they are young men, to work as hard as they could, believe they've reached their dreams, and still work hard to progress further, but never forget those behind and those that follow them. And so through conversations, it was, okay, me as an individual, what can I do to contribute at an individual basis. It was never intended that DIDA all of a sudden would be where it is. But I did appreciate the skills that I've heard, the privileges I've had access to, and, you know, going back home and seeing and inquiring what I can do for a community or for a group of people, even if it's just one child. You know, what would that look like? So it was really, let's just see what happens. And football is expensive to set up. It's you know, so we initially thought we'd start with football. There is talent in Uganda. There's talent all over Africa, as we know. There's raw talent, right? Like, you really have to go look for it. So how do they get a platform? How do those children get a platform? And a consistent platform? You know, it's you may get one or two that are scouted or discovered, but what about the rest of them? You know, what about the whole community, let alone the children? And so I think one Christmas I watched Queen of Katwe, and we wanted to mobilize. We wanted to launch in 2019, and it was difficult. You can't really launch because you've got no field, you've got nothing. So how do you engage the community? And I put it to the team of 7 volunteers who've been with us quite since then. You know, we should do chess. Let's do chess. I think chess is a good idea. It's good for neurology development. It's good for development, and it kind of complements football. We should, you know, the two go hand in hand. And so that's where chess came in. I watched Queen of Katwe and I was inspired. I'm not relatable for some of the children or any of the children in Uganda, but that's why it's important for us to utilize young, entrepreneurial youth of Uganda to lead the volunteer team. So I'm not always seeing they should be leading, and it's also an opportunity for them to develop. So we all develop through DIDA, not just our beneficiaries. DIDA's mantra or our ethics or our values is we are there because we all are there to develop and transform our lives, and I'll learn from that. The children will learn from that, their teachers, their parents. So we have the shared experience, hopefully. And it isn't about discovering that star or that diamond in the rough. It's not just about that. It's about, what if that doesn't happen for you? What else can you have access to that can still empower you and still give you access and just as great a platform as this or the other? So it's exposing them to all those opportunities so that their dreams are realistic, you know, and they can empower themselves.
And I suppose the fact that you've probably laid options on the table for everyone participating in your in DIDA goes a long way to probably easing the pressure on you yourself. Because I suppose quite a lot of Ugandans will probably have seen the Queen of Katwe, and then another charity organization comes in and picks chess as an avenue for you to excel. For you to take the next step into a world you probably dream of. And I suppose that probably have been pressure on you too, from probably fathers, mothers, uncles, aunties, and even the young ones themselves thinking, you know what, I want to be the next queen, I want to be the next king, and what have you. So how do you ease this tension and pressure? Okay, and obviously tell everyone, guys, you might not be the next king, chess king or queen, but you can excel in your own way. You know, chess might be learning chess might be an opportunity for you to go further in your education, in your vocation, in your general well-being, so to say.
I think so. DIDA's model is we work with schools. We will continue to work with the schools and create that network. That's, I think, an opportunity that can occur even for football. And that's slightly different to creating an academy. It's empowering the schools and also then maintaining education in parallel. So you've got that physical literacy being introduced, and in introducing that and sensitizing that in the community slowly. So we don't openly and we don't consistently talk about the what if you don't get. It's just exposing them and slowly sensitizing them to other ways of doing things or other opportunities or other access of fun. And, because this is grassroots, it's got to be fun, and you've got to recognize that some of the children will learn at different paces. They'll look at a sport. They won't even consider chess as a sport. Chess was considered as gambling when we went into the community. Some members, because it wasn't known. Yeah. And that's understandable. Mm-hmm. What is prevalent for me is we mustn't forget the gap between the generations. The children will absorb and they'll welcome anything because it's fun. But you mustn't forget the adults who might be thinking, well, what does that really do for my child? And so we've got to also try and think of programs that educate them as well. So whether that be new jobs or new skills for themselves, who knows? But it's trying to work together with the community. So what we're trying to give the children is just their willingness to get to participate, and then their willingness to explore what their options could be through chess or football or boxing. And who knows? And we've got partnerships that then we can present avenues for work experience in the future. So this is why we've engaged with some of our partners, because we have a long-term view. This is going to go beyond me. This is beyond my lifetime. So we're just making sure that the foundation and the model is understood and embraced. So then even the community can take it forward for themselves. And then, DIDA is not an NGO. We don't want to be seen as an NGO. We want to empower the community to step in and run it for themselves, almost, if they want. We're just giving them access. It's up to them, really, we're not going to tell them what to do in a sense, Yeah.
And I suppose also this wouldn't be a piece of cake for you starting and running, because you obviously tend to go. It's always expensive to go back home to Africa. I mean, you pay your fares and whatever and although you might have volunteers, then you still have to support them whatever way.
Yeah.
How's that been for you financially? Yeah, it is massive, because it's never easy. So how's that been for you, and especially coping with all those stuff, and with you doing some other stuff you're involved in? We're going to talk about your jewelry company later.
Yeah. So look, DIDA, now things are slightly changing on our third year. Our first year, I funded DIDA myself. It's my mission. It gets me up in the morning as well with a job. I contract as a consultant BA. So I'm able to juggle. I'm grateful that I have the ability to do many things, and I have that energy, so that I still have that energy. But as a BA, I'm also a planner. I'm not impulsive. I don't impulsively implement things. I will always consider. I will maybe overthink, but there's always action, and there's always a solution to put something into action. So I will sit with things for a while, and before I commit financially, before I commit with engaging partners. So the DIDA wasn't just born overnight. It took almost 18 months before we even gave it a name.
Wow.
So it's and as a BA and when I consult with startup, is never rush. There's no rush, for these things. There's no rush. And particularly I advise, startups in Africa, Uganda, South Africa, there's no rush. It's not a competition. Because the planning is key. If you get your strategy right. So for me, 2019 was okay. We had to show presence, and then of course COVID hit, and I wasn't in work. I didn't have a contract, and so we weren't able to do anything really. None of us could, because of lockdown, which was respite, I think, for DIDA, because we could sit back and we could reconsider, reevaluate, and pivot and look at other activities. So it gave us time. So whether I was working or not, I never stopped working on DIDA. I never stop, whether there's money there or whether there's cash in the bank or whether there's an activity happening or not, work never stops, because you always have to look for a funding partner. You always have to try and look for prospects. You have to look at content plans. You've got to keep the brand alive. You've got to keep your followers and your community engaged. So it never stops, you know, morning, noon, and night. It's my life. I guess. So, and I'm very present to my well-being, making sure I'm well, making sure I sleep and I have the energy, because then I can't do what I committed to do for the community, for the volunteers. So I'm also investing in myself, you know. So with DIDA, 2020 for everyone was a challenge, but on a positive note, I met new partners. I connected with people because everyone was online and more conversations were occurring. And I think people's mindset now is more conscious. It's more about connecting and meaningful opportunities, I think, you know, even with the jewelry, even with consulting, it's about something that touches you now. Otherwise, you don't want to, it's like there's been a shift, I think, in people's working habits as well. But 2021 for DIDA, I think it's going to be it. I can feel it.
Yeah.
This is our year for sure.
Yeah, and I'm talking about 2021. You've got an event coming up, I think on the 7th and the 8th of March, and it's the Young Leadership Tournament.
Yes, yeah.
Do you want to
so
tell
Women's
us about?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. And why did you decide to, or why did DIDA now decide to do that?
So we, back in 2019, because we committed to football, chess and boxing, we'd already implemented chess. So we initiated the chess with by the way, with the help of Robert Katende, who is featured in Queen of Katwe. So we are grateful to Robert. So I have to give him a shout out, and Som Chess Academy, because, and as a coach, he's probably the most inspirational person I've ever met in my life. So he's amazing and he's an angel. We thought we'd have 190 kids in April come to see what chess was all about, and 800 turned up. You know, so we have a catch. There's this huge reach that we've got, but we also wanted to create something around girls' access to football, girls' access to sport. So we used International Women's Day as a platform, as an opportunity for us to bring that narrative to the fore. So we did our first DIDA Women's Day Cup, is how we named it, on the 8th of March 2019, and we did it with schools again. We approached 2 girls' schools in Kampala, and it was a great event. And then we then did it again in Budaka last year. So it's an annual thing, and we want to grow it. So this year, the theme for Women's Day is Women in Leadership, hence why the tournament's called Young Leaders. And yeah, it's going to take place on the 7th and 8th of March, next weekend.
Next week. Oh,
yes,
are you going to be there? Are you going to be there?
Flying out to Uganda on Tuesday. Yeah.
Good.
So,
good.
Yeah.
Good. I want us obviously to talk more about your activities, and obviously this particular one, and where you see it in future, and what you expect this particular one to achieve, especially at this time of COVID. You know, but before we do that, we're just going to go on a short break. And when we come back, obviously, we delve into this and obviously let our viewers know more about this particular one and subsequent one that you'll be doing. So please stay there. If you're still watching us, it's still The Way Show. My name is Wole, and I'm here with Naki Kaddu. We've been talking about DIDA so far. So stay there. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that very short clip on DIDA itself. I'll tell you what, Naki, having a look at that short clip about seeing the girls play football, which is something, football is something I'm obviously very passionate about. But seeing the smile on the faces, the joy it brings to them, not just the girls and the boys I saw there, but the parents. It's something commendable. I mean, what does that do to you? I mean, as a person that started DIDA, as it were, when you see the joy on these people's faces, what does that mean to you?
What it means, I mean, if even just watching that clip again is like, it definitely sparks, so it touches my heart, and it motivates me immensely, because there's so much more to do. There's so much more work, there's so much we can do. And I have such a vision, and I know the team also, we always want to do things quickly and get it, but you've got to pace it. So we introduced DIDA Women's Day Cup not knowing how it might grow. And each event, we always have to anticipate and plan and really consider what we're trying to achieve and what the narrative is about. Last year was Each for Equal was the theme. And so it was about girls' access to equipment, to sport, to football. A lot of the girls in the Budaka community that we are aware of, you would have seen in that clip, don't even have boots. Some of the, and they were school teams. So we're trying to encourage the schools to participate as well. And this goes back to that model of DIDA is not creating an academy. We're working with the schools. So imagine you had a school network, much like the States, where they really invest in college sport, and you would choose a college in the States based on the sports that they give you access to. And so their prime years in the States is that college years is you professionally playing sport. Imagine a network of schools and leagues. And this is something that I think it was a couple of volunteers, they have this vision for Uganda, and we're trying to create that very slowly to see if it's successful. This year's theme is women in leadership. So we have a woman in leadership coming to speak to the girls. We've also changed the format this year to 2 days, and we're doing it at age adequate tournaments. So that means that everyone gets access to play. And again, that brings up a narrative of age adequate coaching. So there's this argument or debate that children are still trained and coached in the same way an adult would be expected. So they still have this mentality of performance-driven, results-driven training, which for an 11-year-old or a 10-year-old is too much pressure. It's not even relevant. Like, they just want to have fun, and we don't want to focus on the winning and the performing. We just want them to play and be involved and participate. So we've talked to a coach in Germany who's helped us format that. So we're kind of collaborating across the globe with that conversation. Now, for DIDA Women's Day Cup, we would love our vision to take that around Africa. I mean, imagine if everybody could participate at grassroots level, like give them that platform. That would be amazing, So, and keep it as 6-a-side, 7-a-side, not the normal 11-11 and futsal format, the FIFA format. Make it a different format, and just present that in a different way and for grassroots, and give them that platform. And who knows, it just changes the narrative for me. And do that for girls, boys, and see what happens. So we would like to have a partner. We would like to have a sponsor to really build that platform for us and extend it to more girls' schools, because we don't know their level yet. We don't know what level they're all playing at. So we want to just have a look and see what. So yeah, hopefully 7th and 8th, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, definitely. We will, like we discussed in our past discussion, we are totally open to obviously partnering with you, whatever way we can. Yeah. And so this tournament is going to be held in Budaka at the Sasa grounds. it's
Yeah.
called. And
Yeah.
obviously on the 7th, we'll have, you'll be running a total of 12 matches. Sorry, total of 12 matches. 2 matches at a time. And on the 8th is the Women's Day, when you'll obviously have the final round.
Yeah.
What's the support been like in not just in the community now? I'm talking about probably concentration of the at the local government level, probably at the state level, at the government level. Are there any support at all for what you are doing? Obviously, to in this case, to educate and obviously bring the girl child up to that level, because there's a saying like, "Oh, if you educate the girl child, you've educated the nation." So, what's the
Right.
support? What's the support like from the
Well,
government in Uganda?
there's no support, and that's
Mhm.
because we've not really engaged them. But we have, obviously, when we did set DIDA up, we had to meet with the Ministry of Youth and Gender, so she's aware of what we do. We occasionally WhatsApp and check in, but because we're not an NGO, that we don't have to align to certain KPIs yet. But they're aware of what we're doing. I'm a member of Ugandan diaspora, and so they're aware. They're always kept abreast of what we're doing, but there's not been any direct sort of engagement and interest to sort of then talk about what support mechanism. And maybe that will come when we maybe introduce an external and a third party partner. Who knows? Because you know how it is. They maybe want to see more to then engage. However, we've got some interest from the District Football Association, so that we may open up conversations there. I would like to see what their targets are for girl football and women in football, because as an association, they should have some set targets. So we'll see. There hasn't been governmental support yet, which isn't a bad thing, really, because we're still only in our 3rd year. We don't even have our own ground. Like, we need our own field to really be, which is what our target is this year. We need our field, we need our space, so that we can then do the boxing and we can do the chess and we can do the football and we can really be efficient, is what I would love this year. That's our main target this year. And then we can invite lots. We can invite yourself. You can come and have a look.
Yes.
We can't bring you there because we don't have our own field yet. So that's why we use SAZA grounds and municipality grounds and things like that for now. Yeah.
And obviously, if anyone watching, they probably want to support what you're doing at the moment, how do they reach out to you?
So we're all on all the platforms, Twitter, Facebook. We have a donate page on our website, www.didasportsorganisation.com/donate. Instagram, Twitter is @didasports.org. We're fairly active on Twitter. We're fairly active on Facebook. We're fairly active on all of them, to be honest. And we're also on LinkedIn. You can DM us. We're fairly, we respond fairly quickly. We always encourage volunteers to come and join us, whether that's for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month, for a year. There's plenty of work to do if you want to develop in partnership management, stakeholder management. If you want to develop in report writing, bookkeeping, there's plenty to do with DIDA. It's not all about field work, If you want to be project managers, you will have access to directors in DIDA who've got years of experience. One of our directors is Nigerian fella, and he's a lawyer by trade, and again, huge amount of years experience. So volunteers have access to that. We coach, we mentor, we do our best to support everybody. But this year, if you want to help us get a field, get in touch. Fundraising, campaigning, we need the support. There's lots of background work that has to happen, it looks all glamorous and fun because we do field work, but really the work happens behind the scenes. That's where we really need some skilled people. So internships, we take on internships. So there's plenty to do. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna let DIDA rest for a little while, and let me go to your other love, which is Naki Birango, the jewelry company.
Yeah.
Why jewelry? Why? I know that's rather question, but yeah,
Why?
are we? It's what's so special about Naki Barango
London.
jewelry? Um, is this something that obviously also showcase the Africanness in you, or what?
So it showcases what I didn't realize I had was a creative outlet. For many, you look, my father's an architect, was a photographer, sculptor, painter. He was an artist before he was an architect. My brother's a photographer, can also paint. So my siblings can, and I always used to sit there going, oh, what about me?
Yeah.
What do I? I'm a good business analyst, which in a sense is design as well. But I did a 6-week course back 10 years ago. Learned some beading, took a liking to it. Do enjoy, semi-precious and precious stones. Who doesn't? Because everyone loves a bit of bling.
Yeah.
But doing some courses, and then I did a diploma in silversmithing in 2012, and I realized actually, again, being a BA, and as a kid, I always wanted to be an archaeologist, and I always had this curiosities. So I think I've always been an analytical mindset. I've always been inquiring. And I've always liked to build things and work out how things are built. And I guess that's where being a BA and a jeweler comes into play.
Mm.
And I became a silversmith level 2 diploma in 2012. I sold my first collection. So then I was like, oh, I can sell. People will actually buy this. And again, being an analyst, I decided to build a collection, build a website, definitely take business model forward. So again, this is back to strategy, never rushing, always thinking about what you're going to do, thinking about a brand, how you're going to position that, learning, researching, reading, learning about what I'm going to do. And I do enjoy it. It really is an escape for me. I've got 2 collections, and I've got a new collection coming up soon called Earth Series, which is, that's going to be a high-end collection. And that's,
okay.
So one collection is called 6 of 6, and all my collections are symbolic in one way or another. And it takes either architecture or shadows or nature or shapes and tries to create that into wearable jewelry. So 6 of 6 is about the hexagon. So I always talk about bees. 2018, 2019, the trend was bees. So everyone was buying lots of different, and I wanted to take a different take. So I thought I'll focus on the hexagon and the honeycomb. So I won't be obvious. So I don't like to be obvious. We have limited collections. So I never make en masse. So everything you buy through me or through my website is going to be unique. No, there won't be any 2 pieces the same. This year or next year, depending on when we launch it, is Earth Series, which is promoting endangered species and our fragile Earth. So again, that's taking a different angle, looking for partners because we want to give back through each piece. So each piece that we sell, we want to give back to a cause. So there's a cause that sits behind it. I'm actually giving a talk to a school in Kenya in March, in a couple of weeks, Braeburn School, about the jewelry. And I'm basically going to talk to a group of kids about design and technology. So designing through CAD, how you build a design, how you build a collection. And I'm going to have them help me build this Earth Series and get the kids involved. So in other aspects, so that'd be quite good fun. But yeah, so www.nakibarango.com. You can also commission me. So I do commission pieces. So I tend to do more through commissions. It's not primarily African, but it talks to my heritage and the access I had through my heritage quite a lot. So I think I've even got a YouTube video somewhere. I think you can find me on YouTube, Naki Barango London, which will tell you a bit more about me and where I got my inspiration from.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I'll tell you a little bit about yourself. Where you got some of the inspiration from? Ancient Greece.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why ancient Greece? Is it some are you a student of Greek mythology and what have
mythology.
you? Yeah.
No, philosophy, maybe,
Mm,
you know, and mystery. Like,
mm,
if you like as a kid, archaeology. So there's mysterious of the
yeah.
past, mystery of
Mm.
the past, the mythology of the past. And I love Greece. And if I could live in Greece, I would. I've For 10 years I visited Greece all the time, and I think there was always inspiration there. And I love the history and the Socrates, and I love to read the philosophies of Socrates and the architecture. And, you know, there's a lot to learn from the Greek philosophers. There's a lot to learn behind some of their mythologies, which are no, they're not myths, they're actually stories. And a lot of the silver, so as a silversmith, the history of silversmithing dates back to the Greeks, goldsmithing back to Sanskrit or the Egyptians. So they've been making jewelry like thousands of years ago. They use tools that we still use today. So
Wow.
the saw blade that we use, and the saw cutter, this design of that has not changed for 3,000 years. There's no need. So it's we just maybe we can claim digital. We've brought the technology in. That's our evolution. But yeah, I love Greek mythology. I love history. So
Mm.
yeah. And I like to look at the things that are not obvious. Like, you really have to inquire. And this is also what I want to teach through DIDA is don't take things for granted. You've got to go and look for things. You've got to go and inquire and do your own philosophy and create from that. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And there's something else I actually found out about your name, about that name Naki, which obviously translates to Queen of the Leopard Forest. And
Apparently.
apparently,
Yeah.
and also it's supposed to be a clan name, a tribe name.
Yeah. Well, my father gave me the name. So I always used to think my cousins were winding me up when they were like, that's what your name means. And but apparently if you translate it literally, it's Queen of the Leopard Forest. But yeah, I'm from my clan, or my tribe is a small deer. So our animal is the small deer, although I've never depicted that in jewelry. But my father gave me my name, and my mother, I was baptized Margaret. So I'm Naki Barango Margaret. So I like Naki, and I've always used Naki as the short form of Naki Barango. But yeah, it's quite
Mm.
exotic for some.
It is kind of, yes. And well, let me now take you to the world of football. Let me go back to football. And obviously, you are a FIFA agent now, intermediary. Obviously, you're allowed to sit and do your exams to become one. It's far more easier to be a FIFA intermediary now. Um, and people say, permit me to use these words. That's a man's world that you've stepped in to represent, footballers, and you see all these so-called super agents making millions of pounds of dollars on the Ronaldos and the Messis and whatever you. How's the journey been so far for you in terms of being a FIFA agent? And do you sometimes face that that I don't,
Show.
what will I call it? Yeah, obviously,
I'll say
well,
it
like
for you.
you shouldn't be there. I mean, this is nowhere for you.
No, do you know what though? I think if you talk to my friends, they wouldn't be surprised that Naki puts herself in a position whereby I'm not afraid to challenge. I prefer to rock the boat. Not that I go in with a particular behavior or attitude, but I'm aware. So I think what I'm grateful for is the gentlemen that I have met have advised me accordingly, and I think it's honest and it's straightforward, and it's really tough, and it's tough for anyone in that
Mm,
business. It's not something you can do full time. Because you just can't, not if you're starting up. I think it's luck. It's luck and perseverance. You have to work really, really hard to catch that client, and it's never ending. But you can't live off of it initially. you know, and that you may have luck. And it's like, if you imagine gambling, it's just that next, you know, the next one. But for me, and, you know, I'm on platforms with other agents around the world, and I'm the only female on those WhatsApp groups, and they respect that, you know, more than anything. I think certainly in the last 2 years, they do respect that. And I think what I've tried to bring to the conversation is football as a business, not just about catching the talent and making as much money as possible. And it's really also bringing to the fore opportunities around scouting for coaches or referees as a business, as a whole business entity, if you like. And also protecting and having a conversation about, you know, the non-league and the second division players, particularly in the UK, who've just left. You know, if you've gone through an academy, you don't get selected, what happens to them? What happens to the parents? Nobody really then touches base with them. They're just sort of left, but there could be still talent there. So I've had loads of conversations with lots of different agents, lots of scouts, and I found that, yes, you've got to be wary. Not everyone is straight up. Not everyone is straightforward. There's always going to be an angle. There's always a curiosity when they want to meet me, not necessarily to do business. They just want to meet me because they want to know, what are you doing? Why? What are you doing? So they don't really necessarily always want to do business. So it's kind of wasting my time. But you learn. And my main thing is to build relationships, which is what it's about. Build relationships with the football clubs, build relationships with coaches, build relationships with the refs, and primarily build relationships with parents and players, and build that trust. And when the right one will come along. So I'm not chasing it, but I'm just building that network as best as I can. And the thing is, with COVID, football's changing. So, you know, I think we've got to really consider. And I think the women's game is going to start opening up a lot more in the next 5 years. So we'll see what happens. But it's not easy. But I don't mind a challenge.
Don't mind the challenge.
No. Sure.
Now that you mentioned the women football probably changing in the next 5 years. Do you see that change, including a situation where we probably see the women earning as much money, you know, in top club size around the world as the men can?
We would like to think so. I think in 5 years that still might be ambitious, but I think, you know, depending on clubs management and the way they're structured going forward on the back of COVID, you might see that shift. But I think 5 years might still be an ambitious benchmark to have an equal, realistically. But you never know. You just never know. It's moving in that direction. I think the last Women's World Cup piqued an interest, right? The quality of those games and the fitness levels of those women was just on another, you know, and that you can't just ignore that. You now have to really invest in that level. You've got to maintain that momentum now at that level. So, which requires that equality. It forces the hand on that. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, we're already seeing it in tennis at the moment. So I see no reason why that should not be the case, obviously, in football. But
yeah,
like you said, it's still a long way to go with regards to that.
It's about mindset. You know, if we're talking DIDA, you start with grassroots rather than bottom down, top. You know, you top down, you go bottom up, and you know the structure. FIFA's got to look at. I think FIFA's trying to improve the quality and have that central database of everything, and it gives access. But you can only, I think Africa has an opportunity to separate itself to some degree, you know, and really look at Africa football model for itself as a worthy market that can compete as a separate market to Europe. And I think if we don't wake up to that sooner rather than later, Africa's going to miss out again, and you only get your dominating countries as usual that always get through. But there's fair game, right? There's fair game across the continent. We either do business together and collaborate and improve that talent. I think Africa can really exceed in the level of football if it really wanted to, beyond Europe, if it really wanted to. It's just, put me on the calf, put me on the table, and I'll fix it all.
Yeah, we wish we could do that.
Yeah.
Well, no. It's I thoroughly enjoy my chat with you today, Naki. It's been so wonderful having you on our show today, and we want to wish you all the very best, especially come March the 7th and the 8th at Bukada, and wish you all the very best. Safe journey to you and back, and do let us know how it went. Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep in touch.
Yeah, we'll definitely be following and updating our viewers about this brilliant idea of yours at changing lives of people that are not yet there. So thank you again for coming on the show, Naki, and wish you all the very best. And go out there and do it. Okay.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
So that was today's show. I mean, we had this brilliant conversation with Naki Kaddu, who is quite a lady of many hearts. Just like she said, it's so wonderful, talking about how to bring smiles back to the faces of Africans, children of Africa, everything, so wonderful to see people like Naki coming on board with those great ideas and how to do that. So I want to thank everyone for watching the show today. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it, just like I did. Ray James, thank you. You're watching us on LinkedIn, and you've come up to say great session. Thank you, Bumi Omaho, for you watching us on YouTube. Experts are also watching us on YouTube. Thank you. And if you're watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, don't forget to follow us, all right? And next week, we're going to be back here at 8 o'clock. Obviously 9 o'clock if you're watching in some parts of Africa, but 8 o'clock UK time. We'll be here to obviously talk about something as exciting as we are today. And before then, I also want to say a very special thank you to my colleague, the man behind the scene, making sure that you can hear me, you can see me, and we can also talk to all our guests. His name, Yomi Omobija. Thank you so much, Yomi, for everything. And I want to say a special thank you to you out there, and a special thank you also to our guests for coming on the show today. And just like I said, we're going to be keeping in touch and updating you on what DIDA are doing to support the children of Africa. So until next week, please stay safe out there. Okay, I think the weather is going to be turning much better, just a little bit better than it has been in the UK. Be responsible out there. Okay, stay safe and do have for yourself a wonderful week. All right, have a good night. Bye bye. See you next week.